Pat Nixon, and Pat has created a community that is, I don't know, I'm in admiration of it, and I haven't been able to like go. She's got retreats and all this stuff that I haven't been able to be a part of. But it's a, and sorry guys, this may get a little woman centric here today, but everybody needs to take care of themselves in whatever way that looks like. And I think what goes along with this, you know, the embracing life after 60 is, I think a lot of times as we get older, we've been taking care of so many people for so long that we forget how to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So Pat is a friend of mine. I've known Pat for a few years now. She is, I think she's coming into her own as I see her. I'm love watching the growth and the honesty and the transparency and how you are just opening your heart to other people and helping them get where they're going. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, yeah. Robin, as you said there, I'm like, you know what? She's got a good point. What the heck am I doing? You said coming into her own. I
You
think,
are.
and I think as I'm coming into my own, a lot of times I look around and think, I can't make this shit up. I've got to share it. It's like this is really
This is happening.
happening.
I mean, just, and, you've been through some things in the last, 6 months and some things, and you've just been very transparent about it. And as, last year you did that retreat and you've done one, right?
Yes.
You did one, and you got another one coming up, and we'll talk about that. You're developing your speaking program that I am fortunate enough to be honored to be one of your guest speakers coming up soon. Tell me where all this is coming from.
Yeah, Robin, so there's a clean and short, very superficial story that I have done very well in senior living. So going into 2024, I got on my year-end call with my CPA, my insurance lady, and my attorney. And at the end of the call, I said, "So are we on track for our big campus project?" And they said, "Yeah, well, the money looks good." My CPA says, and he's very sarcastic. My CPA goes, "Yeah, well, Pat, you also need to decide whether you want to become a full-time traveler or you want to keep investing in senior living." And the girl in me said, "No, I don't. I don't have to choose." And so it's funny. I literally woke up 3 days in a row at 3 a.m. And first of all, I don't. If I go wake up at 3 a.m., I'm not even going to the bathroom. I'm going to hold it until about 7 or 8. Okay.
You're not getting out of the bed.
I'm not getting out of the bed. I was awake and was moving. And so I pulled up my laptop. I'll never forget. I had my laptop on the counter and I'm watching YouTube. I ended up watching this lady named Michelle Villalobos, and she was talking about retreats. And in my mind, I was created to use my life story to help other women. And so when this happened to me 3 days in a row, it wasn't a surprise that my spirit said, I'm going to host a retreat. And I emailed my team. By this time, it's like 5:30 in the morning. I emailed my team and they're saying, y'all are going to hate me, but we're doing a retreat. This is what I need you to do. And everything, we sold out last year. We were sold out for 2025, but we just added 3 more rooms. Um, we did the retreat, and I was very transparent with the ladies who applied to attend the retreat and saying, I don't know quite what we're doing, but I looked for commonalities. And what I learned is that all of the women had a couple of things in common. A, they were accomplished, right? There was something about their life. And when I say accomplished, I'm not talking about they make 6 figures or they're entrepreneurs, although it was a combination of all of the above. Some were parents, some had just got master degrees. They felt a sense of accomplishment and they yearned to feel more of that and to share it with others. And so that became the focus,
Okay.
was bringing these women into a safe space where they were free to accept the accomplishments that they had achieved, but also to start visualizing, dreaming, and imagining those accomplishments that we put in the back of our minds. And we wrote that and we've been riding it.
Well, and that's part of what intrigues me about this is, we go through our lives, we do our profession, we get our degrees, we raise our families, and we do all these things. Now, what do we do with that once we're 40, 50, 60 years old? What do we do with all of that? And how can we've still got a whole lifetime ahead of us.
We do. We do. I always say, in order for us to become these accomplished women, if you will, we had to become different versions of ourselves. So, kind of like you said, some of us have become mothers, caregivers, wives, CEOs, managers, and whatever the case may be. In order to step up and fulfill what life needed from us during that moment of our lives, we also had to turn away from that innocent, um, hopeful, dreamy girl that sat and said, I want to be a ballerina, right? I want to be an artist. We had to put the vulnerable girl that dared to dream, we kind of had to lay her down. And so I think one of the things I'm appreciating most right now in my 40s is being able to make friends with that little girl again and step into her dreams with curiosity, not objectively, not with the expectation, but let's just have some fun. And meeting and being able to invite so many other women into this space is just confirmation that this is what we should be doing.
Well, and I think, I saw a thing on Facebook and I mentioned it before, we kind of started recording this is we get our superpowers. We're not done at 40 or 50 or 60. This is when our superpowers, because we're a whole lot smarter than we were back then.
Yeah.
We are a lot more in tune, I think, with what makes us who we are,
Yeah.
or we're ready to get in tune with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's key. Ready to get into. First off, remembering that even exists. That
Yeah.
even exists. And so we had our growth garden session last week. It was January 21st, and I took the ladies into a visualization. And when we came out, we were all able to share what that looked like for each of them. And I was surprised to hear how many of them was like, I forgot that I used to like to draw and write. You know what? I think next week I'm going to try to do that again. So oftentimes we've forgotten what that part of ourselves look like. I forgot. I didn't even realize that I had not lived alone yet. And it's so funny that when my kids started progressing out of my house, I had to go through therapy because I was hurt. What am I gonna do? Who's going to need me? And I'm so happy that I was able to get in tune with me and recognize, hey, I need me. Welcome back.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a big part of it, right? I think sometimes, especially so I'm 61. I did not get married until I was 45. So I never, I didn't get married at 20 something like many did. I did not have children in my 20s. They're never, I inherited two wonderful kids. They were 8 and 10 when they came into my life, and that was exactly perfect for me, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I lived by myself. I didn't have to keep anybody else alive,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
don't, I've never had to keep anybody else alive.
Yeah.
By the time I married Chris, he was capable of
Right.
himself. He knows, those kids knew not to like climb on the roof. They
Yeah.
knew. So I've never really, so I almost feel like I should already be where in some of these feelings, that I should have had some of those all along because I didn't put that aside to raise children,
Mm.
to care for a household, and all those things. But yet at 61, I look at it and I say, okay, so if I could live to be 100, and at the rate my mom's going, I very likely could, that
Hmm.
what am I going to do for the next 40 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's she going to look like?
Yeah. That what is she going, and I think that it pays to mention that even though your focus may have not been on rearing children, we had life like when I turn this age, this is what I should be doing. This is
Yeah.
where I should be. And I think that over maybe even closer to in the 50s, that objectiveness kinds of slowly dissipate. And it's no, at this point in my life, my primary objective is to be happy. is to find peace, is to be able to spend more time doing the things that I love to do, that I want to do. I think that's kind of that turn where we realize the things that we spent the first halves of our lives focusing on. Thank you and welcome.
Well, yeah, because right, it's career. It's working our way into whatever vocations we wanted to do or fell into,
Yep.
right? Maybe I fell into running call centers because that's the job I got and I did it for 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't recommend it, but
But look
it's a
at you
hard
having
life.
fun right now. Look at when
But now
I
I'm
look
having
at
I am
you.
having so much fun. I love selling real estate. I love doing this podcast. I love speaking to seniors about the different things and helping them plan the next step,
Yes.
whatever that looks like. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I am, Robin, and that's the place that I hope to be able to inspire so many women to just embrace, stop and recognize that hey, there has been this shift where what I'm focusing on are the things that make me happy, that I get to say
Yeah.
I love. If you're doing something in your life after 45, after 50, and you can't start the sentence with I love, you probably should not be doing that anymore.
Yeah. 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 Because, again, when you're in your 40s or 50s, your kids are probably out on their own.
Yeah.
Again, they can keep themselves alive.
That.
And that comes from the non-parent, the bonus parent and all of that. So,
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
come at me that my children still need me. Of course they still need you. I still need my mother. So,
And I need me.
but I need me too.
That part.
And, it's funny, mom laughs at me because I bought a tent, I bought a sleeping bag, and I go camping in the woods.
Yes.
She goes, "Why do
Yes.
you like?" I said, "Because it's quiet.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there's trees and the lake
Mm-hmm.
is there
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I can just sit there all day and I can take a nap and it gives me time to
Yes.
just center, right?
Yes. 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 So
So,
funny. I'm in Chicago, as you know, and even in Texas, I was kind of complaining that it was cold.
it
This
was cold.
morning, yeah, yeah.
It was cold.
This morning, I went out running in the cold of Chicago, and
It's
the
like below zero there right now.
it didn't. I don't know what the temperature. I felt well. My butt was cold. I can't. It's something about my butt here recently. My whole body can be warm, but my butt is freezing. But it felt so good because the focus, the energy, and the level of peace. I know for a fact that when I used to go out walking, that I wasn't focused on what I heard, on how I appreciated what I smelled, what I felt, how the air felt going into my lungs. It is a new appreciation of life that I'm finding. And you called me transparent. I'm excited.
I want to tell everybody, because, right, it's, again, we get to a certain age and you wonder, and because I just see it, right? I see it with people, I see it with women that they just don't know what to do with themselves. Their kids are gone, their husband is this or that, or their partner is this or that, and they're like, well, what's next for me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't want women to lose track that their life is still going on. And
Exactly.
their life wasn't just during that period, it may have been about raising children and managing a household or whatever those things may be.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we still have the other half.
You do. You do. And the thing that I've noticed, the thing that I think so many of us miss is that there's never going to be a perfect time to prioritize self.
No,
It has to
no.
be an intentional effort that it is my time and I am important. And I always say that I'm God's favorite child. God don't play about me. And so we planned that retreat because somebody tried to tell me what I couldn't do, but the truth is that in doing it, I found a place, meditation, grounding, all these tools that I had right inside of me that I wasn't taking advantage of. And the more that I started taking advantage of them, the more I wanted to share and post and video. Even today out running, I wanted with everything in me to do this, but I was just so in love with this earth. I couldn't even get a video.
And you know what? I'm going to say that's a good thing.
Yes,
That's a
yes,
good thing. We've gotten to
yes.
a place where we take away from the moment
Yeah,
and enjoying the moment of where we are
yeah.
because we've got this phone that we got to take a video and document and all these things. And while I've enjoyed watching you share some of your most vulnerable moments,
Mhm, mhm,
it's sometimes we need to keep some of that
mhm, be present.
here. Be present. Be
Yeah,
present.
yeah.
Now tell me what you did on this retreat. So tell me why, you got these amazing women together, people from all different backgrounds and demographics, finance, whatever, all the demographics would be financial or cultural or location or any of that.
Yes,
So
yes.
tell me what this was about. You went to a beautiful place.
We did. So we went to St. Lucia in 2024. And like you said, an environment for women from all different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicities, different professions, different beliefs. One of my favorite parts about that structure was that we got to learn from one another. And so since the very first retreat, I've attended quite a few retreats just so that I could learn to be able to offer my ladies more. And what I've learned is that there are lots of segregated retreats, right? And so you've got like my retreat is only for women. There are some retreats that are only for certain ethnicities. What my model is, and one thing I'm super excited about for 2025, is I recognize the need for an integrated platform for women where we are sharing our experiences, we're sharing our culture, we're sharing our background. Because what I've noticed, especially during our connection calls, which is a call that I have with every single woman before I accept her for the retreat, is that we have so many similarities. We have so many things in common, especially by way of experience, the things that we've experienced that we can offer so much to one another. And so that's my favorite part. But for 2025, we are meditating. We're doing a Temazcal ceremony. I finally was able to find a location that supported the cold plunge, which I've been dying to experience. And so, yeah, isn't that
Yeah,
scary?
girl.
So I
Girl.
did it by myself first because I never want to have my lady. I went and got one done. I went and participated in one, shall I say. Robin, the level of release, like seriously. Tomorrow, when you get up in the morning, before you take your hot shower or whatever, do all cold water. And I want to, you and I talk. I want you to text me and let me, the level of release, tears burst out of my eyes. And it wasn't tears because it hurt or felt bad. All the emotion that your body releases. And we don't even know we carry that.
Now I've done a cryo tank.
Okay.
So is it different than that?
It's similar. It's very, very similar. I have not done a Cairo tank, but the place I went to for my plunge offered that service as well.
Well, the cryo thing is just, you're 3 minutes and it gets colder, 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 and right before you're about to lose your mind, it ends.
Ooh, ooh, that
So it's
sounds
three
intense.
minutes. Yeah, you're just like, okay, okay, now it's
Ooh,
really cold. I'm really cold. And then it starts to, and they let you out. And
ooh.
your head is above. You're not like in a
Yeah.
thing. Your head's above. Now, this cold plunge, I always picture it as you're jumping into a tank and going all the way underwater. And is that not it? I have no idea.
Doesn't go over your head. I think
Okay.
major difference as I hear you describe the Cairo, the major is it Cairo or cryo?
Cryo. Cairo. I don't know. I
The
can't.
that one.
I don't
That
know.
one.
That one.
Major difference that I hear is your cold plunge is normally already at the set temperature and you choose how long you're going to stay in it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's more where it sounds like that one gradually gets your body
Yeah.
ready. This one's more like a shock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So on this retreat, you're going to meditate and sit in ice cold water.
We're gonna do a cold plunge. What we're gonna do, what the most important thing is, we're going to talk, right? We're gonna have a safe
Yeek, that's
place.
gonna scare people.
That is
Talking.
scary. That is
Talking.
scary. We're going to talk. We're going to reflect. I've got a couple of facilitators who specialize in things like shadow work, um, family relationships, boundaries, right? Ways to turn it off and it's safe, different things. So, some of the women that are actually speaking in the different growth garden sessions are going to be on site as facilitators, but it's really an opportunity when you think about this retreat. If you think about Walt Disney's different rooms, remember, well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Walt Disney model, but Walt Disney used to allow us, he had a dream room, and in the dream room, you could throw any idea, your wildest imagination out there. And then you went to the realist room, and in the realist room, this room was for the people to say, well, this could possibly work, or nah, this is pretty much impossible. And then the critic room. And the critic room is when they figured out every reason why it couldn't work. And if it passed from the critic room, then it could move forward as an idea. And so if you think about the retreat is your dream room. We come together and we talk about all the things of the heart. We connect with ourselves. We focus on focusing on us, on you.
That's a lot.
It's so heavy, Robin, and it's so
It's
beautiful.
and when it's one thing to say it, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on, but when you really start to think about it and you go, "Oh,
Yeah,
because how often do we, and I know we're both women, so we say as women, but I know men do the same thing where we are who we are and we do what we do and we don't always look inside and are honest about, is this really who I am or who I want to be or
exactly,
what I want to be doing?
exactly, exactly. And that not being able to step back and look at ourselves, one of the things that I always present to it limits our happiness. It puts a ceiling on our happiness. When we learn to focus, turn inward in just about every aspect of our lives, what we really do is we give ourselves the control of our destiny and the experience that we encounter in everyday life. Because no matter what comes to me, I'm equipped with tools to look inside of me for everything I need to make this experience for me. And so one of my reminders, one of my agreements with myself whenever I'm like, what in the heck is going on? Oh, I can't, is life is never happening to me. It's always happening for me. And it's happening for me because I know how to look inward and figure out what is it that I need? Where do I need to put this to help me to be the best version of me?
That's heavy stuff. Heavy stuff.
It
Now tell me
is.
about this growth garden. So that what kind of grew out of the retreats, is
It
best I can
did.
tell.
It did. It did. So it's so funny. So the growth garden, as I did these connection calls with my women before we jumped into the retreat, I realized these women want something from me. They want me to
Shocker.
guide. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I was very, very intentional about what a retreat is. And I almost want to say that I learned this from Janet. You and I met at one of
Yep.
Janet's retreats. And I
Yes.
remember Janet saying, I don't want a full agenda. To retreat is just that, to withdraw. And so when I said I'm having a retreat, my intention was to give women a chance to pull back and withdraw. But given the objective following that I have, as I call it, my boss girls, my beautiful bosses, they all were like, okay, Pat's an entrepreneur. She's done this. I want, they had in their mind so me being the
Well,
diva,
because they went inside, they found what they
what
wanted,
they
and now
needed.
and they had permission. Now they had permission from you and themselves to go forth and
Go for
conquer
it.
what
Yep.
they want.
And hence the growth garden. So the
All right.
purpose of the growth garden is to give and have an objective environment. So different women are bringing their stories, their experiences, and helping other women grow from that. And so it's doing two things. A, for women that aren't able to travel, it's giving a platform for them to receive community and to be fed as well as to share with others. And for the retreat, turning it back, when we go to Tulum, we have the opportunity to retreat, so we can satisfy the objective piece that the women were seeking, so that in Tulum we can again focus on us, not on my business plan, not on my workout regimen, not on how to be a better wife. Focus inward on me. And so the growth garden is just that. We've got women talking about everything from finances. I'm on the schedule a couple of times and I'm working my 15-minute work lab out. So I am going to do a 15-minute work lab where the women just sign in, bring whatever their goal is from a business perspective, and I'm going to show them how to jump into it for just 15 minutes and watch it blossom. Someone taught me that early on, and I've been waiting to share it. You are going to be talking about the Camino, which, let me tell you this, and because I want you to share it, but let me tell you about the confirmation I received. So I thought for a second, I want to coach these women and I want to guide these women and I want to create. And so I signed up. I took this 4-day class. And at the end of the class, she goes, "So what was your breakthrough, Pat?" I said, "I had a powerful breakthrough." And that's the, I'm not going to do this.
That's the breakthrough, right?
It's my breakthrough. Thank you.
Thank you for showing me the path I'm not going to take.
I'm not going to take that. I am not. I am thinking of doing a 3-day intensive training where I just take some of the fear of the business plan away. So I help women dive into this business plan. I went
Yeah.
and got my MBA because I was intimidated by business plans. And it wasn't. Yeah,
Well,
you don't have to go get an MBA. We can knock it out in 3 days. Um,
yeah.
but I was in class with a lady that takes women on walks
On the
through the.
Camino.
Yes, so I'm so excited about this from you again.
Well, well, that's, and I think back, and it's been 6 years almost, 5.5 years since I did that. And what the reason I did it was to see what I was made of, right?
Mhm.
So I am 61. I was in my mid 50s, a little chunky, not an athlete, janky feet, um, you know, never been hiking, you know, all that stuff. And I said, I'm going to go walk across Spain. Bye. And I did. And I got hurt. I didn't get hurt on the Camino. I just had a injury from before that flared up. So I
Mhm.
didn't like fall down a cliff or trip over a rock. It was just but I couldn't walk. And being that that's a 100% walking activity, I didn't get I got about halfway as far as I wanted to go. That being said, I know what I am capable of.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that I can, I had never been out of the country, much less out of the country by myself.
Really?
I had never flown to Europe. I sure don't speak Spanish. Um, I I was like, okay, I'm going to fly into Madrid airport, and there is a train downstairs that will take me to the central train station, which I will find a train, which will take me to Saria, and then I will find the place. I just said, this is what happens, and I'll just follow all the other people.
Yes.
And that's basically what I did. I
Wow.
said, these people look like they know what they're doing, but they could have been as clueless as me.
Exactly.
But it's having faith in your own self, and you will always find, I believe this, I've told you, you're an angel in my life because the angels show up when you need them.
Yep.
And when I was hurt and I found there was some reason I wanted to go to this particular, it's called an albergue.
Okay.
It's where it's like a hostel, if you will. And I wanted to be there. I just needed to be there. And I probably I mean, I'm dragging my leg behind me basically. As it didn't even occur to me to stop and take a cab. It didn't, I mean, and I passed other places I could have stayed. But I know I needed to be there. And those people that ran that, thank goodness for Google Translate,
Uh-huh.
because they created that business and that albergue because when they walked on the Camino, she fell and broke her kneecap and they needed help and they couldn't find it.
Wow.
So they were truly a safe place for the pilgrims and the travelers.
Wow.
And they let me stay. Typically, you don't get to spend the night. I mean, you spend the night, but you got to leave by 10 in the morning, and they close it down until about 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
They let me just stay there by myself. They made sure I had food. And when I realized I wasn't going to be able to continue, they helped me figure out what I needed to do to get home. They let me use their laptop so that I could get a hold of American Airlines and
Yeah.
change my flight and cancel this and do all these things. And I believe that, you know, I was so angry that I got hurt and I couldn't finish. That's where my anger was. And
Mm-hmm.
it took me even a couple weeks after I got home to realize I had accomplished the goal.
Yeah. Hmm.
I had accomplished the goal because I said I'm going to go walk on the Camino. I did it by myself. I had the added challenge of figuring out how to get home.
Yeah.
I had, and so sometimes we hit the goal, even though we think that was the goal. The goal was this.
This was
It
the
wasn't
goal.
that.
This is what I
Yeah.
said I wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did it. And it took other people when they said, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. It was so great to watch you. I said, yeah, but I didn't finish. And they're like, Robin. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a couple people like smack me in the head
Seriously.
because I said, well, I didn't finish. They're like,
Mm-mm.
Robin, you walked on the Camino. That's what you
Mm-hmm.
said you were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we talk about where we go inward,
Yes.
we may have one idea of what the whole project might be, but maybe that's not what it is at all.
Mm-mm.
Maybe it's this instead.
Because it's always happening for you.
There's one of my favorite authors. His name is John Acuff, and I heard this. He had two quotes, and one of them is, "Things are always working out for me."
Yes.
And I start my day, "Things are always working out for me." And
Yes.
if I forget to say it, or I feel like things aren't working out for me, my friend Kira will say, "Things are always working
Things
out
are
for you."
always working out for you.
She
And it's the
reminds it.
power of those friends. And that's another benefit of this
Mm-hmm.
circle of like-minded people. I think you and I were talking about, you were talking about bridge and my brain went to bunco, but I went and had breakfast with a good friend Julia the other day, and she was on the growth garden with us, and she said, Pat, I didn't realize I didn't realize how much I was thirsting for community, for my circle. And sometimes we look around and the people that we've surrounded ourselves with just from habit, just from natural life, they're
Mm-hmm.
no longer the people. Sometimes you need to find that person that's going to remind you that things are happening for you, to remind you that
Yeah.
you did hit the goal that you set out to achieve. And so there's so much power in community and circle. And that's another thing that I love about the retreat. I love that
Yeah.
story, Robin.
Well, and I think, and unfortunately, I think COVID did a number on us so emotionally. And I see now that we're what, 3 years on the other side, regardless of what anybody thinks about anything. I'm not getting political here. We're on the other side. And I think we are starved for the community that we lost. We got very accustomed to being alone or being with our just these people because that's what we were doing.
Yep.
And I think we got very accustomed to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we forgot that we're human beings and human beings need connection.
I'll tell you when I knew that we had lost it. We threw a happy hour. One of our preferred providers, one of our sponsors, sponsored the full bar, and 7 people showed up to a paid happy hour. That's when I knew.
What?
And this was for
Clearly,
healthcare workers.
I was going to say, clearly you didn't have any realtors on that list.
I had the wrong audience. I thought
You
that
had the wrong
nurses would have
audience.
flown the building.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
have another one of those, and I'll be there.
Yes, ma'am. I know. I
But I
found
mean,
my tribe.
and now, and you're in the senior industry. I'm working with trying to help people find their next chapter, right? And isolation is, what are they saying? Like isolation is the new heart disease or something.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's something
Isolation and
like that,
depression. Yeah.
yeah, that it's not just, it's everybody. And when you get to be older, and you know, older is a relative term, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
40 and alone? Are you 50 and alone? Are you 60, 70, 80? And isolation is a real thing, and it will
Mhm.
do a number
It will.
on you.
It will. It will.
And I
Yeah.
worry about I've told you, my mom lives in one of your care homes, and I think she is so much better today than she was a year ago when she moved in, just because there are more people around.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I go see her, my sister goes to see her, but every day she is talking to another human being
Yeah.
because there's a caregiver there. Other residents' kids come in and sit down and talk to her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know she is better off because
Yes.
she's not as isolated.
That makes my heart smile. And that's a real thing. We talk about if you don't lose it, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And a lot of times we refer to our physical bodies, but we don't know the same is true of our minds, of our
Yeah.
social skills, of all the things. The more we isolate ourselves, the more difficult it is to come out of isolation. And
Well, yeah, mom
isolation
was
is
forced out
real.
of it, right? I
Yes, she
try,
was.
I've never been much of a joiner. Oh, I don't really, and she said that forever. Forever.
Forever.
And I'm like, it's not just going and joining a card club. I mean, it's about just being around people. And, you know,
It's so
so
funny, Robin. Every time I walk, so I don't know how I even started. Well, I do because I do it to all the residents. And there was when she first moved in, I just made a decision that I was going to be the whisperer that was going to break down all her guards. And so I just started walking in there like I didn't know that she cringed and kissed her on her forehead every time. And I remember the other day it popped in my brain. I said, I know Miss Shirley, like here she is again, putting them greasy lips on my forehead. Every single time I walk in
but
the house.
but you know what? That is what isolation is. And when you've got the senior market,
Yep.
right? Our
Yep.
70s and 80-year-old people that are living alone.
Yeah.
I mean, and they
Yeah.
don't even realize that it's hurting them.
They
That's the
don't.
thing. They don't. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm
Exactly.
fine.
Exactly.
And I know that when my husband goes out of town, if I'm by myself, I revert back to some old habits
Yeah.
of not doing things, old habits of when I was very lonely. In
Yeah.
my 30s, not my best decade.
Okay.
Not my best decade.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's because I was very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Variety of reasons. That's a whole other show.
Okay.
But I know what that does, and
Yeah.
it took a lot for me to get out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in my 30s and 40s. So
Mhm.
imagine being 60, 70, 80
And
and
you
needing
know,
to break out of that.
adding the fact that most people around that age 60, 70, 80, more so 70s, 80s, they also feel that they're a bother to everybody. So add that, yeah, isolation just increases. We don't, I move too slow. So I don't want to go out with other people because I don't want
Yeah.
to slow all the things that the mind starts telling us. And so before we get there, before the body does, it's very important that we flex those social skills. Find your tribe. And
Yeah.
even when you don't feel like, I'll tell you, a friend of mine drugged me out of the house last weekend. Granted, I went out on Saturday and all of Sunday I was asleep, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going out and talking to people and dancing and remembering. I love freaking dancing.
We
We,
forget the things because, and I think, again, going back to, your growth garden and the retreats and your effort to get, in this case, women, but people,
people. Hmm.
people to find the tribe, remember what makes you happy,
Yeah.
whether it's playing golf or tennis, or now I think I want to garden or I want to go dancing and I
Yeah.
haven't, and I want to be a lady who lunches or I
Yeah.
want, and remember what you used to enjoy doing
Yeah.
or what you thought you'd always want to try.
Yep.
I want to try pottery. I want to try, this or that, pickle. I mean, whatever it is,
Whatever it might be. Yep.
don't be afraid to go sit down and say, I'm going to take a ceramics class. I see them advertised on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to that pouring paint place and I'm
Yeah.
going to go do that. I mean, the writing. I forgot I wanted to be a writer. I'm going to
Exactly.
go sit down. I'm going to go take a writing class. I'm going to
Yeah.
get online and find writing prompts and I'm going to
Yep.
do that
Yep.
because nothing's holding you back.
And here is the feat in isolation. When you're in isolation, your brain starts telling you that those thoughts are weird, that you're too old to still want to do things, that you can't write anymore, you haven't done it. And when you come out of isolation and you're around more people like you realize that you're not the only person getting your groove back, right? We are out here getting our groove back. We're all
Yeah.
finding ourselves again, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love the way you said that. And that we're all just out here wandering about. And if we happen to bump into the people that are our people, then
Yeah.
grab onto them and,
Yeah.
and hang on tight. Hang on tight.
In one of my blogs, I said people think that as entrepreneurs we have it all together, and the truth is we're all figuring it out. And I think that was my eye
Yeah.
opener for the need for community. Is when I went to Goldman Sachs and I was around all these business owners that were just like me, who hadn't figured out their budgets yet, or were deadly afraid of the budget, or didn't know what this word meant. And when you again resist isolation and find community, most of the things that you're going through, somebody else is going through the same thing.
They are. We're not that different.
We're not
Okay.
that
You're not,
different.
I mean, as much as we want to think, and we're all unique in our own ways,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
human condition is the human
The
condition.
human condition is the
Is it at the bottom of it? We are all cells, blood, brains, emotions, and all those things.
all the
So
things.
I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for being transparent and opening up a door for people that they can just walk through.
Thank you,
It's
Robin.
opening a door for people to walk through. And
Thank
that's,
you.
I think that's huge. So tell us all about the growth garden. How do we figure out what that is? How do we find it? And how do we do all that?
Yes, 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 yes. So it's so funny. I my whole career I have gone against my face being the brand, but for the growth garden and the retreat, you're gonna go to pattnixon.com. It's real easy. You go to my
Love it.
website. The growth garden is absolutely free. All that I ask is that you register and you show up and you invite another woman. If you want to come on the retreat, like we got 3 spots remaining. If that's what you want to do, if you want to talk about what it looks like to join us in Tulum, you simply fill out an interest form and then set up an appointment and you and I will talk. But pattnixon.com is where you can access all things me.
I love that. PatTNixon.com. It is all about you, my girl. All right. Well, thank you for
Robin.
sharing again, being as vulnerable and transparent as you are. I so appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Relax I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Today just talking about your superpowers. They come after you're 40, after you're 50, after you're 60 because you've already had to live through all the stuff to get the superpowers. So, thanks again for tuning in. Please make sure you subscribe and share this episode with anyone you think really needs the growth garden. So, thank you, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Stopping. There it goes.